Porpoising is back for 2023. One of the biggest issues for the 2022 season seems like it's going to make an appearance in 2023 as well. Why is this so strange? Well, there were an array of regulations to combat the porpoising issue, but that doesn't seem to work after all. Although the FIA was very confident in its solutions, the current data shows that the cars won't stop bouncing all of a sudden if they don't understand the ground effect more thoroughly, like Redbull. This will have massive consequences for the championship, especially for everyone not named Red Bull. The 2022 season saw one of the biggest shifts in the technical regulations, with cars increasing around 200 kilos in weight and being narrowed down so that racing would be brought closer and the grid would have been much more compacted. Still, this isn't something that the teams understand because, as the technical director of McLaren, James Key, said, they weren't around when the ground effect cars were first implemented in the sport in the 1970s and then banned later on in the 1980s. When talking in this manner, Key said, "We've all experienced it. It's prevalent. It's a phenomenon. It's physics. I thought they would have anticipated it from their wind tunnel work. I guess the two things which were less obvious to us, one was the porpoising, which we all missed. If we were old enough to be about in the 80s and remember the last time it was a problem in the 70s, we probably would have been a little bit more wise to it. But actually we all missed, let's say, the potential for that to be as severe as it was at the beginning of the season, and it tended to take up more time than was expected to solve. Obviously, there was one guy that was around Formula 1 when the ground effect cars were present, and that's Adrian Newey. Quite honestly, he made a lot of jokes on the rest of the grid, saying that he was very surprised as to how the teams didn't anticipate the porpoising as an issue with the new ground effect cars and with the new regulations. But one thing led to another, and the FIA was forced to intervene in order to fix the porpoising issue for 2023. The major fix regarding this matter was present from day one, but no team wanted to do it because the consequences were major. In order for the car to stop porpoising, the car ride was supposed to be lifted, and then it would result in increased drag and lower downforce, which is ultimately what every team tries to run away from. But now that this solution is applied for all of the cars, it goes without saying that the cars are supposed to perform utterly well without any issues, right? That's in theory. But the FIA is not very confident that the new regulations that consist of increasing the ride height in the floor and side segments is going to do enough to prevent porpoising from happening. And now, with that being said, one couldn't help but wonder whether Red Bull was in the right when they said that this is a one-team issue, and the FIA should have never intervened in this problem. One team that also struggled a lot with the porpoising issue in the first couple of races was Alpine, but after a couple of weekends they were able to compromise a bit of their performance in order to stop the car from bouncing and be more stable in the corners and the main straights. That is why Alpine was very much against the rule adaptation for 2023, because they, for one, showed that the issue is there and all the teams have to do is work through it. Before we go to the FIA statement regarding the porpoising issue, we need to talk about Mercedes and how this is utterly bad news for them. The Silver Arrows were probably the loudest team in the paddock when it comes to the porpoising issue, and they were advocating for a rule change since the problem appeared in Spain and Bahrain during the pre-testing. After Baku, when Hamilton exited his car limping, the FIA showed their mercy to Mercedes and decided that the porpoising was indeed too aggressive and they needed to intervene. The Silver Arrows started the new season with a very innovative design, one that involved no side pods. And although they were convinced from the first pre-testing in Barcelona that it wouldn't work and that the porpoising issue was going to be even more present with it, they decided to continue with the innovative design for the rest of the season. Little did they know their arrogance is going to cost them a couple of years of being third in the Constructors' Championship if we are to believe the FIA statement regarding the porpoising issue in 2023. So why is the FIA so negative about the new regulations? Nicolas Tombazis spoke about this issue and a solution that was brought to solve the aerodynamical phenomenon, and when talking about it he said, "Whether we have done enough with this change to stay away from it, porpoising, or whether porpoising will reappear anyway, we don't know that at the moment, and it will have to be seen during the season." Although many consider this statement to be very naive, if you think about it, it's a direct message to the teams that while everyone is hoping the grid will be even more compacted with the new regulations and the porpoising will be completely eliminated, Tombazis has denied this. And it's not just him. Technical directors and chiefs all around the grid are reporting issues that couldn't be solved for the upcoming season, more precisely the porpoising issue. One of the main reasons why the porpoising wasn't picked up during the simulators for the 2022 season is the fact that there wasn't software that could pick up such things, according to Eric Blandon, who is Aston Martin's deputy technical director. When talking about this matter, Eric said, "Every F1 car experiences some degree of oscillation, but with the current regulations due to the aerodynamic load and the variation in that aerodynamic load, this oscillation is more pronounced. You use the same tools, wind tunnel, CFD cluster, software, but it's all about how you extract the data and how you use it. Simulating the problem is complicated. There aren't many tools that can do that. On a computational side, you can't predict it with normal software." This is a very huge statement made by Eric, who basically said that there isn't normal software that can predict such an aerodynamical phenomenon. With that being said, the conclusion of whether the FIA has done enough to eradicate porpoising with the new technical regulations could very well be brought upon for the new season, with Red Bull continuing the dominance even further. The Austrian team understood the assignment from day one, and with the field being leveled and all of the cars lacking pace, it seems like nothing will change, although that was the main goal of the FIA. So regardless of how much time Red Bull gets to spend in the aerodynamic facilities, it seems like the problem was fixed from their side at the beginning of the 2022 season, and now they can go on to win a couple of championships before the beginning of the 2026 season, when a new set of technical regulations and a new team are going to enter the grid. And then we come back to Otmar Szafnauer and Alpine, as the team principal said that everything is in the hands of the teams when it comes to the solution. That is why he doesn't believe that the new regulations are going to change anything, as his team is a prime example of how a car that bounces can be fixed solely with hard work. When talking about this matter, Otmar said, "We always made those trade-off decisions on car setup, especially early on to get the car to a place where porpoising wasn't an issue for the drivers, and that's where we raced it. We had a scale of 1 to 10, and we really never wanted to be above a 3, 10 being unbearable, and 1 being nothing. So we wanted to be in the region of 3 and 4. We should manipulate the car setup to make sure that the drivers were okay, but that always came at the expense of performance. Maybe some of the others didn't want to do that. They saw better routes." With that being said, Mercedes is going to be devastated at the only pre-testing in Bahrain this season, if this turns out to be the truth. The Silver Arrows are really going to suffer from extensive issues for the upcoming season, and the new regulations are going to be absolutely useless for Mercedes if they don't manage to find a fix in their own garage. What do you think is next for the Brackley-based team and porpoising? Do you think that the cars are going to suffer from it yet again? Let us know in the comments below.